The night sky above Blackwater Forest was impossibly clear, each star a perfect pinprick of light against velvet darkness. Alex Morgan adjusted the focus on the telescope, grateful for the isolation. The astronomy department's annual camping trip had devolved into predictable drunken revelry back at the main campsite, but Alex had seized the opportunity to hike deeper into the woods for some actual stargazing. Perfect conditions for the meteor shower, Alex murmured, jotting notes in a worn journal. The Perseid meteors wouldn't peak for another hour, but the anticipation made the solitude worthwhile. A gentle breeze whispered through pine needles, carrying the scent of wild herbs and something else, something strangely metallic and unfamiliar. The first anomaly appeared at 11:42 p.m. Not a meteor, but a pulsing blue light drifting silently through the trees about half a mile distant. Too controlled for ball lightning and too silent for a drone. Alex abandoned the telescope and grabbed a flashlight, curiosity overriding caution. The forest floor was soft with decades of pine needles, muffling footsteps as Alex navigated by the intermittent flash of blue light. It moved with purpose, occasionally pausing before changing direction. Whatever it wasn't random natural phenomena. 20 minutes of pursuit led to a small clearing bathed in moonlight. The blue light had vanished, but something else had taken its place. Someone else. She stood with her back turned, silver-white hair cascading to her waist, seemingly absorbing the moonlight rather than reflecting it. Her form was slender, clad in some kind of iridescent bodysuit that shifted colors with each breath. Around her feet, tiny lights like fireflies swarmed in complex patterns. Alex's foot came down on a dry branch. The crack shattered the silence. The woman turned, revealing a face of haunting beauty, high cheekbones, large almond-shaped eyes that reflected starlight with an inner luminescence. Those eyes widened in surprise, then narrowed with something between curiosity and alarm. "I'm sorry," Alex stammered, hands raised non-threateningly. "I saw the light and thought." "You shouldn't be here," she replied, her voice melodic with an accent impossible to place. Perfect English, but with cadences that seemed to dance between the words. "It isn't safe." The tiny lights around her feet swarmed protectively, and Alex realized they weren't lights at all, but tiny machines, each no larger than a dragonfly. What are you doing out here alone?" Alex asked, taking a cautious step forward. A smile flickered across her face. "I could ask you the same." She gestured to a collection of small containers at her feet. "Collecting samples. Your forests are remarkably diverse. You're not from around here." It wasn't a question, and she didn't treat it as one. "No. My home is considerably further than you might imagine." The realization hit Alex like a physical blow. The strange light, her otherworldly appearance, the tiny machines. "You're not from Earth at all, are you?" Her expression softened. "My name is Alicia." "And no, I'm not." Alex should have been terrified, should have run. Instead, an overwhelming curiosity took hold. "I'm Alex. Why are you here?" Alicia knelt, collecting her samples. "Curiosity. Research. My people study worlds before making contact. We've watched Earth for centuries." "Official first contact? You mean your people are planning to?" A distant shout from the forest interrupted. Alicia's expression changed to alarm. "Others are coming. I cannot be found." The tiny machines swarmed around her, their blue light intensifying. "Wait." Alex moved toward her, but she stepped back, her form beginning to shimmer with the same blue light. "Here." She pressed something into Alex's hand, a small crystal that pulsed with inner light. "If you wish to speak again." The blue light enveloped her completely. When it faded, she was gone, leaving only disturbed soil where she had stood. In Alex's palm, the crystal warmed and pulsed once, like a heartbeat. The voices in the forest grew closer. Alex closed fingers tightly around the crystal and slipped it into a pocket. Whatever Alicia was, wherever she had gone, one thing was certain: nothing would ever be the same again. 3 days had passed since Alex's encounter in the forest, and sleep had become an impossible luxury. The crystal sat on the nightstand, its gentle pulse growing stronger with each passing night. During daylight hours, it appeared dormant, just a curious geological specimen with unusual clarity. But as darkness fell, it awakened, emitting a soft blue radiance that painted Alex's apartment walls with shifting patterns reminiscent of aurora borealis. Tonight was different. Alex woke at 3:17 a.m. to find the entire bedroom bathed in blue light. The crystal hovered 6 inches above the nightstand, rotating slowly while projecting what appeared to be star charts onto the ceiling, constellations both familiar and utterly foreign. "What are you trying to tell me?" Alex whispered, reaching out to touch the floating object. It responded to the touch by projecting a new image, a topographical map that Alex immediately recognized as Blackwater Forest, with a pulsing marker deep in its heart. A beacon. A summons. Dawn found Alex hiking the same trail as before, this time with proper supplies: compass, first aid kit, water, and the crystal itself, now inert in daylight but growing warmer against the skin as if anticipating reunion. The forest felt different in morning light, less mysterious but somehow more alive. Birds called warnings of a human intruder while squirrels scolded from tree branches. Alex followed the mental image from the night's projection, deviating from established trails into increasingly dense underbrush. The sound of voices brought Alex to a sudden halt. Ahead, male voices spoke in clipped, professional tones. Military? Government? Whoever they were, instinct screamed they weren't friendly hikers. The signal originated within 50 meters of this location, one voice stated. The craft was small, likely a scout vessel. Any radiation signatures? Negative. Whatever tech they're using, it's clean. Alex crept forward, keeping low to the ground until the men came into view, 3 figures in unmarked black tactical gear, carrying equipment that looked too advanced for local law enforcement. One held something resembling a metal detector, sweeping it in wide arcs. "Sir. Blood traces here. Non-human protein markers." The words sent ice through Alex's veins. They were hunting Alicia. And they'd found blood. She was injured. The men moved deeper into the forest, following their equipment readings. Alex waited until they were out of sight before changing direction, circling wide around their position. The crystal in the pocket had grown hot, nearly burning against the thigh. When Alex pulled it out, it pulsed with urgent crimson light, pointing like a compass needle toward a dense thicket of brambles several hundred yards east of the search team. The thorns tore at clothing and skin, but Alex pushed through, following the crystal's guidance until reaching a small hollow concealed by fallen logs and overgrowth. There, curled against the earth, lay Alicia. Her silver-white hair was matted with a substance that gleamed like liquid mercury, blood, presumably. Her breathing came in shallow gasps, and the iridescent bodysuit was torn at the shoulder, revealing a jagged wound. Her eyes fluttered open at Alex's approach. Recognition dawned, followed by wariness. "You came," she whispered. "Your crystal called me." Alex knelt beside her. "What happened?" "There are men searching." "Hunters," she said, voice strained. "They detected my craft's energy signature. I was careless." She tried to sit up, wincing. "I managed to send my ship into autopilot, but they tracked me instead." "You're hurt. I need to get you somewhere safe." Alicia's luminescent eyes searched Alex's face. "Why would you help me?" The question caught Alex off guard. Why indeed? This was an alien being, unknown and potentially dangerous. Yet the pull was undeniable: curiosity, compassion, and something else, something Alex couldn't name that had haunted dreams since their first meeting. Because you're alone on a strange world, Alex replied simply. And because they're hunting you like an animal. Distant voices filtered through the forest. The search team was changing direction. Can you walk? Alex asked, offering a hand. Alicia nodded, accepting the support. Not far. My body is different from yours. I heal quickly, but need shelter. I know a place, Alex said, helping Alicia to her feet. An old ranger cabin about 2 miles from here. Nobody uses it anymore. Their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them, trust fragile as morning mist, but real nonetheless. Alicia's hand tightened around Alex's, her skin cool and smooth like polished marble. Thank you, she whispered. Together they slipped deeper into the forest, the crystal glowing between them, while behind them the hunters continued their relentless search. The abandoned ranger cabin stood in a small clearing, its weathered logs and sagging roof offering little aesthetic appeal but abundant seclusion. Alex helped Alicia across the threshold, easing her onto a dust-covered cot while quickly securing the door and windows. It's not much, Alex apologized, lighting the cabin's old oil lamps. But no one comes here since they built the new station. Alicia surveyed the humble space with genuine interest rather than disdain. It's perfect, she said softly. Organic materials. Living wood. It will mask my biological signature. Alex approached with the first aid kit. I need to look at your wound. Alicia hesitated before nodding, carefully peeling back the torn section of her bodysuit to reveal the injured shoulder. The wound was unlike anything Alex had ever seen, the edges sealed with that strange mercury-like blood, the flesh beneath pulsing with tiny filaments of blue light. Your body. It's healing itself, Alex observed, fascinated. Yes. My cellular structure incorporates what you might call nanobiology. Self-repair mechanisms. She winced as Alex cleaned the wound with antiseptic. But I've never been injured on an oxygen-rich world before. The process is uncomfortable. Alex worked in silence for a moment, applying bandages more for protection than medical necessity. Being this close to Alicia intensified the strange attraction that had been building since their first encounter. Her scent was subtly alien, like honeysuckle with notes of ozone after lightning, and heat radiated from her skin in waves that seemed to synchronize with Alex's own heartbeat. Why Earth? Alex asked, trying to maintain focus. Of all the planets you could visit? Alicia's eyes, those impossibly deep, luminescent eyes, met Alex's. Your world is unique in ways you cannot imagine. The biodiversity alone. She gestured to the forest visible through the cabin window. 1 square mile of your forests contains more distinct species than entire continents on other worlds we've studied. You're a scientist, then? Something similar. A biologist, perhaps, in your terminology. She adjusted her position, moving closer to Alex. My people face challenges. Evolutionary stagnation. Environmental collapse. Earth's genetic library may hold solutions. Night fell as they talked, hours dissolving as Alicia described her distant home, a world of crystal cities and silver oceans, populated by beings who had mastered interstellar travel but lost touch with their biological origins. Alex shared stories of human civilization in return, our triumphs and failings, our art and music and endless capacity for both destruction and beauty. As midnight approached, the cabin grew cold. Alex built a small fire in the ancient wood stove, and they sat side by side before its warmth, shoulders touching, the contact sending pleasant shocks along Alex's spine. Your species is so tactile, Alicia observed, noticing Alex's reaction to their proximity. You communicate through physical contact. Don't your people touch each other? Rarely. Our telepathic abilities made it unnecessary generations ago. Her hand moved tentatively to Alex's cheek, fingers tracing its contour with scientific curiosity that rapidly transformed into something more intimate. But I find myself curious about the experience. Their first kiss was hesitant, exploratory, her lips cool at first contact, then warming to match Alex's temperature. The second was deeper, her hands tangling in Alex's hair while the crystal in Alex's pocket pulsed in rhythm with their accelerating heartbeats. When they finally parted, breathless, Alicia's eyes had darkened to deep indigo, pupils dilated. "I shouldn't," she whispered. "Contact protocols strictly forbid intimate relations with pre-contact species." Alex laughed softly. "I think we're well past standard protocols." Her answering smile held both mischief and longing. "Perhaps you're right." What followed transcended physical intimacy alone, a melding of sensations beyond ordinary human experience. Each touch shared fragments of memory and emotion, each kiss conveyed wordless knowledge of worlds beyond imagination. Their bodies moved together on the narrow cot, illuminated by firelight and the crystal's blue radiance, uniting two beings from different stars in the most ancient dance in the universe. Afterward, lying in each other's arms, Alex knew with absolute certainty that nothing in life would ever compare to loving a woman from the stars. Dawn broke with the sound of helicopter rotors thudding in the distance. Alex jolted awake, finding Alicia already dressed and peering through a crack in the cabin's boarded window. "They've expanded the search perimeter," she said, her voice taut with concern. "Using aerial thermal imaging." Alex joined her at the window. 3 black helicopters circled the forest below, following a grid pattern that would eventually lead them to the cabin. "How did they find us?" "They didn't, yet." Alicia turned, her face resolute. "But they're being thorough. This structure will show as a heat signature. We need to move." They gathered their meager supplies quickly: water, food, the first aid kit, and most importantly, the crystal, which Alicia now wore on a cord around her neck. It pulsed with steady amber light, responding to her touch. "This is a quantum communicator," she explained as they slipped out the cabin's rear door. "It's how my extraction team will find me when they arrive." "Extraction team?" Alex repeated, the words landing like stones. "You're leaving?" Alicia paused, her luminescent eyes clouding. "My mission was reconnaissance only. I've already stayed longer than planned." Her hand found Alex's, intertwining their fingers. "But nothing about this encounter has followed protocol." They moved deeper into the forest, following game trails and stream beds to mask their scent and footprints. The helicopter sounds faded, then returned, tracing wide circles overhead. By midday, they'd reached a series of rocky outcroppings that offered both shelter and a vantage point to observe their pursuers. From their elevated position, they could see teams of black uniformed agents spreading through the forest below, accompanied by tracking dogs and handheld sensor equipment. "Who are they?" Alex whispered. "Military? FBI? Something called Project Sentinel," Alicia replied. "I accessed their communications briefly. They're a multi-agency task force established to identify and contain extraterrestrial incursions." "Contain? You mean capture? Or worse?" Alicia's expression darkened. "Their orders include retrieval of technology, biological samples, and specimens, by any means necessary." The implications sent a chill through Alex. "We need to get you to your extraction point." Alicia shook her head. "It's too far, nearly 40 miles north. And my injuries have slowed the healing process." She touched her wounded shoulder, which still leaked occasional droplets of mercury-like blood. "I need to complete my sample collection first. My mission cannot fail." "Sample collection? With them hunting you?" "The samples are everything, Alex." Her voice grew intense. "My world is dying. Our genetic diversity collapsed after millennia of engineered perfection. We need Earth's chaotic, messy biology, your adaptation mechanisms, your cellular resilience. She reached for Alex's face, her touch conveying desperation. Without Earth's genetic library, my species faces extinction within 3 generations. The weight of her revelation hung between them as daylight faded into dusk. They made camp in a sheltered hollow between 2 boulders, sharing body heat as temperatures dropped. Their physical connection deepened with each passing hour, not just sex, but a melding of consciousness that left Alex understanding Alicia's world almost as intimately as Earth. In those quiet moments of connection, Alex learned the truth about her people, how they had engineered their own genetics for millennia, pursuing an ideal of perfection that ultimately led to evolutionary stagnation. How they had watched Earth for centuries, marveling at humanity's resilience despite our self-destructive tendencies. How Alicia had volunteered for this dangerous mission knowing she might never return. "If Project Sentinel captures you," Alex whispered against her cooling skin, "they'll never let you go. You'll spend your life in some government lab." "I know." Her fingers traced patterns on Alex's bare back, constellations from her home sky. "But I accepted that risk when I came here." "Then I'll help you complete your mission," Alex decided. "And get you to your extraction point." Morning brought new determination and a plan. While the search teams concentrated on the eastern quadrant of the forest, they would circle west toward Blackwater Lake, where Alicia could collect the remaining aquatic samples she needed. Then north through the marshlands, using natural features to mask their trail. What they didn't anticipate was the trap waiting at the lakeshore, motion sensors hidden among reeds, silently alerting the nearest search team to their presence. They were halfway across the narrow beach when the first helicopter appeared over the tree-line, spotlight blazing through early morning mist. Behind them, dogs barked and men shouted commands. "Run!" Alex grabbed Alicia's hand as they sprinted for the northern shore. The crystal at Alicia's throat pulsed frantically, its color shifting from amber to urgent crimson. She clutched it, eyes widening. "My extraction team, they're arriving early." Hope and alarm mingled in her voice. "They've detected the pursuit ships." They reached the tree line as the first tranquilizer dart struck the sand beside them. Ahead lay miles of forest and marsh, and somewhere beyond, a ship from the stars carrying Alicia's only chance of escape. Their fingers intertwined as they plunged into the underbrush, 2 beings from different worlds, united in flight beneath Earth's indifferent sky. Midnight transformed Blackwater Marsh into an otherworldly landscape, mist hovering above dark water, cypress knees rising like sentinels, the occasional flash of bioluminescent fungi marking their path. Alex and Alicia had evaded their pursuers for hours, using the labyrinthine waterways to confuse tracking dogs and thermal imaging alike. The crystal now pulsed with steady violet light, its rhythm accelerating as they moved northward. "We're close," Alicia whispered, her voice both relieved and tinged with sorrow. "My extraction coordinates are just beyond the marshland, a clearing large enough for the shuttle." Alex nodded, unable to speak past the tightness in the throat. The inevitable moment of separation approached with each step, a reality both had avoided discussing throughout their desperate flight. Whatever had blossomed between them, this impossible connection spanning light years of difference, faced an ending neither wanted to acknowledge. They reached the marsh's northern boundary near 2 a.m., finding themselves at the edge of a wide meadow bathed in starlight. In the distance, helicopter searchlights swept across the forest, but their immediate vicinity remained peaceful, crickets and frogs providing nature's soundtrack to their final moments together. Alicia sank to her knees in the tall grass, removing sample containers from her pack and arranging them meticulously. Hundreds of Earth's biological treasures, plant clippings, water samples, soil cores, even tiny preserved insects, each catalogued and preserved for study on her distant world. "With these, we might regenerate our genetic diversity," she explained, voice thick with emotion. "Reintroduce chaos and adaptation into our sterile bloodlines. You're saving my entire species, Alex." Alex knelt beside her. "How long until your shuttle arrives?" 20 minutes, perhaps less. Her luminescent eyes reflected starlight as she turned to face Alex. There's something I haven't told you. Something I'm not supposed to offer. What? Her hands trembled slightly as she reached for Alex's face. You could come with me. The words hung in the night air between them, opening possibilities vast as the galaxy itself. Leave Earth? Alex whispered. Go to your world? It would be one way, at least initially. The journey takes months in suspended animation. You would be the first human to see another solar system. Her voice grew urgent. You would be a bridge between our worlds, proof that cooperation is possible before formal first contact begins. The offer was simultaneously terrifying and intoxicating. Leave behind everything, family, friends, career, planet, for a woman from the stars? Become an ambassador to an alien civilization? What about Project Sentinel? Alex asked. If they're willing to hunt you, imagine what they do to prevent human-alien cooperation. Alicia's expression hardened. They cannot be allowed to capture these samples or prevent my departure. If they believe all extraterrestrial life is hostile, they may sabotage official first contact when it comes. An alternative plan formed in Alex's mind, one that might satisfy both worlds. The samples are what they're really after, right? What if we gave them some? Enough to study but not enough to weaponize. Understanding dawned in Alicia's eyes. A deliberate leak. Scientific knowledge exchange rather than capture. Exactly. Show them that cooperation benefits both species. They worked quickly, selecting duplicate samples of non-critical specimens. Alex wrote a detailed letter explaining the potential for collaborative research, emphasizing that the visitor had come in peace. They placed everything in a waterproof container anchored by a small light that would attract attention once they were safely away. Above them, the stars shifted subtly as a black shape occluded their light, descending silently, without engines or visible propulsion. Alicia's extraction shuttle, elegant and organic in design, settled onto the meadow with only the whisper of displaced air announcing its arrival. A doorway materialized in its seamless hull, spilling silver light across the grass. The moment of decision had arrived. Alicia stood in the shuttle's entrance, silhouetted against its interior light, hand extended in invitation. Behind her, technologies beyond human imagination waited, ahead, a journey to a world orbiting a distant star. Her eyes held both hope and understanding, she would accept either choice Alex made. The sound of helicopters grew louder. Flashlight beams bounced through trees at the meadow's edge. Time had run out. Alex stepped forward, taking Alicia's offered hand, their fingers intertwining as they had since their first meeting in the forest. The connection between them pulsed with shared emotions, desire, fear, hope, and something deeper that transcended the limitations of their different biologies. I can't go with you, Alex whispered, voice breaking. Not yet. Someone needs to be here when your people return, someone who knows the truth, who can help prepare humanity for first contact. Disappointment flashed across Alicia's features, quickly replaced by understanding. You'll be in danger. Not if we're smart about this. Alex pressed the crystal communicator back into Alicia's palm. Take your samples home. Save your people. Then come back for me when the time is right. Their final kiss tasted of stardust and promises, a mingling of earth and sky, present and future. Alicia's skin glowed with inner light as their bodies pressed together one last time, sharing wordless vows that spanned the gulf between worlds. 3 of your years, she whispered against Alex's lips. When my people are ready for official contact, I'll return for you. Wait for me. Then she was gone, the shuttle door sealing seamlessly behind her. The craft rose silently into the night sky, its outline blurring until it became indistinguishable from the stars themselves. Alex stood alone in the meadow, watching until the last shimmer of its passage faded. Only then did Alex retrieve the sample container they'd prepared, activating its beacon before slipping into the forest edge. From concealment, Alex watched as Project Sentinel agents converged on the blinking light, their excitement palpable as they discovered the gift, knowledge freely given rather than captured. The letter was passed from hand to hand, expressions changing from suspicion to wonder as its implications became clear. Dawn broke over Blackwater Forest as Alex began the long hike back to civilization. The sky above was ordinary blue now, the stars hidden by daylight. But they were still there, including one particular star where a silver-haired woman from beyond would be traveling, carrying Earth's biological legacy and memories of a human who had helped her escape. 3 years suddenly seemed both impossibly long and merely a moment in cosmic terms. Alex would be waiting when she returned, when stardust footprints once again marked Earth's soil, this time not in secrecy, but in the open light of first contact. Until then, the memory of her touch, her scent like honeysuckle and ozone, would have to sustain across the light years separating them, a love story written not just between two people, but between two worlds.